Okay, Eric, what do you remember about the last LSU game? I guess, did you watch that from the pool house or your living room? And I don't can't remember if we asked you about, had you ever missed a game before for any reason during your coaching career?
Oh yeah, I missed the game because of COVID last year.
That's right.
Because of,
Sorry.
protocol.
So I had to cut that out. That was a dumb
I
question.
didn't have COVID, but I had close
I
contact
know.
thanks to Riley Hall.
You missed the game. I got a great short-term memory there.
Shows you the impact I had with you, Bob.
Oh, yeah. Well, how tough was it to, watch the LSU game? I mean, a big number 12 team on the road and all that, and just how glad are you're coaching this game?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously as a coach or a player, you never want to miss any game, but I mean, I think that everybody kind of just business as normal, which is what you want, whether it's a player or a coach that has to miss the game. Obviously a huge win in Baton Rouge, but as usual, different teams now this time around, without Pinson in game one is, it's a completely different challenge guarding them and preparation, than when Xavier Pinson doesn't play.
And then I asked JD about this. I didn't know this, but Scotty knew because he's like a shot chart freak. But that was JD's first dunk of the year. That when he went down the lane and dunked it. Well, what'd you think of that play? And he's obviously not a guy. He scores a lot of different ways, but not normally a dunk.
Yeah, I mean in practice, we see his athleticism all the time, whether it's post-practice, pre-practice. I mean, that's a shock to me that was his first dunk because, again, I pretty much guarantee if I look down there, right, I mean, he dunks all the time. Again, it's just I didn't know that he hadn't in a game, but that was a pretty momentum changing dunk. I thought just the timing in traffic, but not a surprise probably to any of us.
Okay, I might have a couple more. I'll turn it back. And so sorry about what I said earlier.
Scotty.
Hey, Coach, you guys are number one in SEC games in 3-point defense. I mean, with the early struggles that you guys had in that area, way back in November, December, did you think that this group could get to this point where they're, leading the league in that category?
Not real. I mean, I don't know what, when the light bulb moment was on that, other than just getting 3 balls drained on us on a nightly basis early in the year. But we just kept talking to the team, really, Scotty, just about, look, we're doing the same drills that we led the nation. And I mean, I don't know what's so hard about it, but I think we started using our length a little bit better. And I also think that, the nature of our non-conference schedule, we played a lot of teams that could really shoot the ball. But we've obviously, improved in defending the 3, but one of the things we always talk about is just how do we become multiple in all of our schemes, pick and roll, defending the 3. And I think that's been a big growth for us is being able to play multiple ways.
We've saw a couple of times this month where a team shot it pretty well from 3 for a stretch or maybe for a half, and then you limited them, pretty good after that or in the second half. Is that just guys being more engaged, adjustments, or what would you maybe credit that to?
Yeah, I mean, it could be both the things you just mentioned, Scotty. It also could be, like, what are we, what are we emphasizing or what are we willing to give up? And I mentioned, the Florida and the Kentucky game that we were willing to maybe concede some inside points and some paint points and not concede the 3 just based on how the flow of the game was going. Because we thought, if Kentucky started making threes, that would be a little bit too much to make up. And then we felt the same way on the road against Florida. And so we got a little bit closer to their 3-point shooters. We stopped digging in the post. So I think all those things kind of contribute to numbers when you take certain aspects of your defense.
Last thing for me, we're seeing Jalen put the ball on the floor quite a bit more, maybe the last 6 or 7 games. Just what are your thoughts on that and him just kind of expanding another area of his game offensively?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been so interesting to see the evolution of Jalen's game from passer to post ups to now off the bounce. And a lot of it also has to do with personnel. We thought that Jalen off the dribble against Toshibwe and maybe even against Florida, Castleton, just bigger bodies, looking at the mobility of who's guarding Jalen. But he's been certainly more aggressive in all aspects as the season's progressed, even shooting. I think he took 4 threes the other night as well. So I just think this evolution of him becoming overly confident in a lot of different areas has really expanded his game.
Curtis.
Coach, speaking of Jalen, you mentioned that he was sick or under the weather on Saturday. Just curious if there's any update on how he's feeling.
Yeah, it was awesome. He came in early, said he felt great. JD was sick as well. I did not know that. They kept that from me until after the game. JD, it was either JD or one of his teammates attributed to eating too many pancakes prior to an early start. Can neither confirm nor deny that. But I did find out after the game that not just, and it was really interesting. Coach Argento was just laughing about it, that at halftime, I told the coaches in the coaches office, I said, Jalen Williams is sick. I can see it in his eyes. And 2 of the assistants said, no, he's fine. What are you talking about? We walked into the locker room and the doctors are saying, yeah, Jalen's been throwing up. And as I was walking back out on the court, I'm like, gosh darn it, my assistants don't even know this guy's sick. And I could tell by the look in his eyes. So Gus, when Jalen walked in, he reminded me that Gus, you don't want Gus to diagnose any sickness that you might have.
And then with this being the last home game of the year, it's kind of unique. I mean, you've got some seniors who are out of eligibility, some guys who, could maybe come back for an extra year if they chose to. How does that impact how you honor or recognize these guys on Wednesday? And then when do those conversations start with the guys who do have that extra year?
That's an awesome question, and I've talked it over with a lot of different people. The COVID senior year, like that changes a lot of things for everybody. What I have done is I've had conversations with Stanley and Trey and Chris, and we're all just going to focus on LSU. I think that's where we are right now. It's a huge game, as is both games, and then the remainder of what happens after. We've done a great job as a group of focusing on one game at a time. Those 3 guys, their eligibility is up. And so I thought it was really important to talk to those 3, because this truly is those 3's no matter what, it's their last home game. And they've all experienced a senior night. So we're going to worry about and focus on, on that LSU game. And then, the frame jerseys and all those things will certainly, those guys will receive and be able to have, for the rest of their life. But, I thought even last year, you do a senior night with Jalen Tate and Justin Smith. And then what are you going to do? Have a conversation, 4 weeks later about, so, I think it's unique for all of us in all sports in college to especially in men's basketball, guys testing the water. There's just a whole litany of things that I think right now it's, again, having spoken to the players, because those are the guys that really matters to, and most of their family of the guys that I'm talking about, and even JD, and also DC, like they had their almost all of them had family members, AAU coaches. Their inner circle was at the Kentucky game because of a weekend, and now, with this being a midweek game, almost all of their family members and stuff have gone home as well. So that's a long-winded. Nate?
Yeah, Eric, you mentioned Xavier Pinson. Just specifically, what does he bring to them, especially after you saw him against Missouri last year?
Yeah, Pinson, really quick with the basketball. He's done a good job increasing his volume of assists this year in LSU system. Really quick off the bounce, can make threes, can score in bunches, a high steal player defensively. He's a really, really tough preparation guy, and then he's a tough cover during the 40-minute game as well, because he could just score in a variety of ways, and also a guy that can draw free throws attempted as well if you're not overly disciplined when you guard him.
Also, you have a comment about JD being the National Player of the Week, the honor she's received.
Yeah, it's been awesome watching JD's game grow, because his game really has grown a lot. I kind of laugh a little bit that, the first year, the sit out year, what we called, it's gone now, but what we used to call the developmental year, when we put him at the point guard position, he could get reckless with the ball at times. But he's just, like, to watch his game grow for all of us has been really, really cool. And I've never coached a player in college that had a week where he, recognized by, the conference, recognized nationally by ESPN, and then recognized obviously with the March Madness and Andy Katz's. That's three really big national recognition awards for player of the week. So really cool. Good for him on a Monday. Hopefully by Wednesday we'll be back, only worried about the LSU Tigers.
Thank you.
Touch.
Yeah, Coach, to follow up with what Curtis asked you, with JD and Adis Toney, have you had those conversations with them? Would you like to have them back for another year?
Well, I want what's best for both those guys. No, I'm not going to have any conversations with anyone, whether it's someone that's got eligibility, someone that their eligibility until the season's over. That's the appropriate time to have those discussions, because right now, there's still a body of work ahead of us. There's still evaluations going on for people at the next level. It's not a open and closed door until the year's over, and then you have those conversations. And Moses Moody and myself and Kareem Moody, we did not have a conversation until the season was over. And then we had a conversation, and I was able to make phone calls and find out, just same thing with Isaiah, and same thing with Mason. And, I do think that, I'm going to get as much information as possible, for those guys. And I want what's best for them. Nobody knows better than I do, and some of the guys on our staff that have been at the next level when that time is right. I will say that with Caleb and Cody Martin, they came back for an extra year. A lot of people questioned it because of their age. It was the smartest thing that either one of them did, and it's going to pay dividends big time for them financially, because their games continued to grow. And for one of them, Cody became a better shooter. For Caleb, he got more of a reputation in an area that he needed to improve on defensively. And I also think it's good for our players to see, that, Jalen Tate and Jimmy Witt, those guys. Jimmy, obviously, his eligibility was up, but Jalen, has gone to Germany and he's gone to Sweden, and so it's not easy, you know what I mean? And so I think that that's good for all of us to see the makeup of how hard it truly is to, it's not about playing at the next level. It's about making a career out of it. So what I want for those guys, to answer the question, do we want them back? I want what's best for every player that plays here. And that doesn't necessarily mean the best thing is for a player to come back. Some guys, it's good for them to start their pro careers. And then other guys, like I mentioned, the Martin twins, it was genius for them to come back, because we're going to find out when they had their contracts this summer, how impactful it was, because to come out early and get cut, or to play in the G League, or to go to Europe, that's not helping your longevity as an NBA player. And so sometimes having an extra year and growing your game can lead to what's happened with the Martin twins. And those two kids listened and believed in the input that we gave them, and that we were going to be really truthful about, where their careers could go.
Appreciate it.
Christina.
Yeah, Coach, your season kind of surged after that last LSU game, and theirs kind of took a turn for the worse. So I just kind of wondered what you make of the kind of opposite trajectories these teams are on, and kind of how this year has gone since then for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, for obviously we've gotten, extremely hot, but we understand how talented LSU is for this home game. And then obviously Tennessee's record at home speaks for itself. They're undefeated. They've had some games that aren't even close in Tennessee's building, that they've just steamrolled people. And LSU, just looking at the two prior years, it's hard to beat a team twice. It really is. I mean, and you can look at our games the last couple of years with LSU, and look, they didn't have Pinson. And when we didn't have JD Notae against Mississippi State, really, Christina, that wasn't Arkansas's team. We were missing a key player at a key position. And so I look at Coach Wade's team, and when they've been fully healthy, they've been really good and won a lot of games. And with Pinson back, your game plan is completely and utterly different than it was the first game. Your pick and roll coverages are different. And some of the things that were successful last game, we've got to tinker and can't do it exactly this way, because Pinson and Gaines are different players. They're both really talented. They're both really good, but just as JD's a completely different player than Chris Likes. I mean, so that therefore your schemes have to change as well. So nobody wants to play LSU. I can promise you that in the SEC tournament, because they got some really good pieces. And so I don't really look at what a team has done when they've, been injured. And look at Kentucky without Ty Washington and Shavir Wheeler. Like we had two different game plans going into the Kentucky game, two completely different. I mean, we were going to press the entire game if those two guys didn't play. And all of a sudden you find out a couple minutes before that they're both going to play. And we had no idea they were going to play 30 some minutes. We thought they might play bit minutes, and we hardly pressed at all, because Shavir Wheeler's not a guy you're going to press full court man to man and get up into him. So just like this game, our game plan and schemes got to have flexibility in it. maybe than more so when we played in Baton Rouge.
And then this might be more of a question for Jalen himself, but I am curious about your perspective on it. But what does he have to do recovery wise from some of these games where he's taking, 3, 4, 5 charges in a game?
Oh man, I think he's fine. I mean, he's got to become good friends with Matt Townsend in the training room and ice and use hot pads on the body parts that might get banged up but he seems to be pretty fresh, to be honest with you. I don't, sometimes you get at this particular juncture of the season and you're worried about somebody who's got a tender ankle or a bad bone bruise, or right now, knock on wood, we're pretty healthy, both mentally and physically right now. Other than me.
Randy.
Eric, I noticed you're out of the sling. Is that permanent or temporary?
It's permanent. I don't know what I'll do during the game, Randy, but I don't need the sling from a medical standpoint. I can only go I got very limited mobility on my left arm, but I don't really need it. I've been able to call plays and stuff with one arm for 6 weeks. So I don't think, but I did read, that my AD thinks I'm calmer with the sling. So I don't know, I'm trying to read between the lines and, what exactly was Hunter talking about with me being calmer? I don't know. Maybe I guess he's saying he likes it more.
By the way, JD is the Drive Time Sports player of the game. So add that to the honor for JD. Okay.
Should I get on a graphic for that too, Randy? For Twitter?
I think you should. It's really important. Eric, you've won 13 of 14. Has there been anything that surprised you during this streak? And what has been the catalyst for this long extended period of time?
Yeah, I think to win 13 out of 14 with the one loss, being a 1-point game on the road against a talented team. Winning doesn't just sneak up on a team. It's a combination of a lot of habits. It's when we weren't winning like we wanted to, it's working on your culture and continuing to tweak until you get to where you want to be. But that was one of the things that I heard my dad say all the time is, winning just doesn't sneak up. It just doesn't happen. It's players coming in, getting shots on their own. And, but obviously, the last 14 games, and I'm including the loss in there, we have played really good basketball and we want to continue to get better. And I've mentioned it, if we lose a game, whenever, you got to keep getting better and you got to use a win or a loss to get better film wise, to get better schematically. I thought the Alabama loss helped us. We were able to go back and dive into some areas that we didn't do as well as we wanted to offensively and defensively. And that's where we're at right now. How do we get better the next time we have to go play in front of a crowd and there's a scoreboard?
One other question. Oh, all right.
What do you got, Randy? I got 20 seconds.
The play of Jalen down the stretch after all that pounding and he wasn't feeling well. Talk about his last maybe couple of minutes.
He played awesome. JD made great reads. We wanted to run that 1-5 pick and roll, fist out 15 on the left wing or fist up 15 with the pick and pop. And both those dudes made great reads. Later.